Welcome to Better HR in 10 minutes, where we take a question important to human resources folk and answer it in 10 minutes or less from the perspective of an employment lawyer and an EEO trainer. I'm Sarah, I'm the employment lawyer.
And I'm Rodney, I'm the trainer.
Okay. Keep in mind the things that we talk about today are not legal advice. It's two friends cracking jokes and having a good time. Speaking of a good time, Rodney, we talked a lot. We've been recording today, and we've done ADA, we've done Title VII, we've done all kinds of things. But you know what we haven't done yet? Harassment. So I have a question
because
for
if we're
you.
going to be cracking jokes and having a good time, what better way to do that than with harassment?
Yes, exactly. And actually that fits perfectly into my question for you. Since we only have 10 minutes to talk about this, the question I would like to pose to you today is, what is one thing that you wish that employers knew about preventing harassment?
Uh, I was with the EEOC forever, and I did education with the EEOC forever. And of course, whenever an employer, an HR person would say, "Hey, we need you to come back out and talk about behavior with our managers and our staff," we were always talking about illegal harassment, right? Because that's what we did. But about a decade or so ago, I started hearing more from human resources people that really wasn't doing it, right? The talking about the law was great. Talking about what people shouldn't do is important, but it wasn't telling them what to do. And what they were really asking for were questions, I think, along the lines of leadership. And if we're talking about leadership, we're always talking about culture. The truth is, Sarah, there's two ways to address behavior at work. One is legally, and the other way is culturally. And in my opinion, culturally works better. This is who we are. This is how we do things. This is how we don't do things. And so I think if we really want to talk about reducing harassment in the workplace or preventing harassment in the workplace, it really starts by creating a culture that's important to the management staff of that organization. This is how we do things here, and this is how we don't do things here. And we establish culture by what we hold people accountable for. And so we need to talk to them, I think, first about behavior that they should do, which is, I think, behavior that is generally dignified and respectful. Well, I mean, you're from the attorney side, you're the legal side.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in, what do you tell people? Because I'm a trainer, so I'm going to branch off into this area, but what do you say?
Yeah. So I think that with respect to harassment, lawyers and the legal aspect of dealing with those kinds of complaints and that type of behavior is reactionary, right? Like, so
Yeah, right.
the legal standard sets us up and says, look, you're supposed to have policies and you're supposed to do training, but if it happens, here's how you can course correct and either reduce liability um, or or not be liable for the behavior. And that's really reactionary. That's on the back end of it. But if you as an employer really want to stop that stuff from happening, you got to go like 5 steps beforehand. Because
Okay.
and when I conduct training, I talk about it this way. I pull like a kind of egregious case, and usually one relevant to that industry. So if I'm talking to firefighters, I've got a case with firefighters. And I talk about the really egregious things that are made the subject, the sort of the facts underlying the case. And then I pose the question, and I'll pose it to you. Do you think they just walked in that one day and started doing that? No, right? Like, they started with something so much smaller, and it slowly creeped up and creeped up and creeped up. And one of the reasons that it creeped up like that is because nobody told them not to.
Right.
So if you start with, as you called it, culture training and leadership training, the word I hear a lot now is civility training. Then you put yourself in a position where hopefully you stop the behavior all the way over here, and it doesn't even get here.
Yeah, we always think about behaviors being individual, and yes, people need to be held individually accountable for their behavior. But was it studies show that harassment doesn't take place at work because of the characteristics of an individual? It takes place because of the characteristics of the organization. In other words, Johnny doesn't harass people because Johnny's a bad person. just what you said. Johnny harasses people because he thinks the organization gave him license to do it. So we spend so much time, when we talk about the reactionary side, focused on Johnny's individual behavior. We're not asking the bigger questions. What kind of culture did we create which would
Mhm.
let Johnny believe that this was a really good idea? And I think that that's one thing employers need to keep in mind.
Yeah. So if you have not organized or planned for some type of leadership or civility or cultural training for your employees, consider it. It's a great idea, and it may be something a little bit different. That if you're used to having a consultant or a lawyer come in and say, this is what harassment is, and this is when you complain, and this is what you're not allowed to do, consider something else, because that's good too. But not trying to put anyone out of a job. That's good and important,
Do you
but
know of anybody that does that kind of training, Sarah?
ooh, is it you? I suppose, yeah. I was gonna say I suppose I do, but I think yours is probably much better than mine. And you're in the position to provide that training, and you do it much better than the lawyer would.
I have to
Yeah.
drag it out of you.
So call Rodney. No, I don't mean to make light of it. It is. I think that is the new, from my perspective, and I'm the one defending these things. That
Right.
that's the new conversation, the most important conversations to be having, with your clients. And Rodney is an excellent trainer, and he's an excellent person to provide that. So if we can help with this, or really anything else that we talk about, please don't hesitate to give us a call.